Perfect. Thank you. I hope everyone can hear me clearly. Hello, everyone. I'm Tanya. Thank you so much for having me here today. Um, I'm a social impact practitioner and researcher with a focus on gender, digital social innovation, and community development. I'm also involved in a number of interdisciplinary arts-based initiatives that focus on themes around migration, movement, and displacement. All the work that I do in these projects is really with the objective of kind of fostering spaces of individual and collective learning. So all that being said, the current research that I will be discussing with you today builds on my collaborations with Pashtana Durrani, an Afghan social activist who runs an NGO called Learn Afghanistan, which addresses women's socio-economic empowerment through digital education. So the presentation that I will be sharing with all of you today really centers on my case study research that I've done with Pashtana in Kandahar. I will add a couple of points that part of this research is very much an extension of my own master's thesis. Parts of this particular research project are still a work in progress. As you can imagine, there are a lot of different components and factors that influence timelines when you're doing this kind of research, but I've tried my best to kind of capture the main parts that have been completed already. I will also add that the landscape in Kandahar is also constantly changing. So the main research that has been conducted was at a particular point in time when some of the laws and practices look differently, particularly for women. So I just wanted to kind of set that tone. Now, just in terms of I hope everyone can see. Yeah, okay. Just in terms of the key question that we are looking at today that my research addresses is how can digital education initiatives be designed to enhance women's socioeconomic agency in Kandahar while preserving indigenous knowledge and cultural practices? So the research itself explores that balance between modernization, innovation, and the preservation of local traditions and practices. And my research will examine, as I mentioned, digital education initiatives in Kandahar, and it centers on Learn Afghanistan as kind of the key case study, illustrating the potential of such initiatives. So just to kind of talk a little bit about some of the approach, the research approach, and some ethical considerations as well. The study itself is rooted in an ethical awareness of how research involving some communities should be conducted. I think that traditional models often focus on the struggles of vulnerable groups, which can be limiting, I believe. So that said, I have my research practice is very much inspired by the work of Eva Tuck, who is a professor of Indigenous Studies in Canada and is from the Alouette community herself. So based on her work, I kind of challenge the damage-centered narrative that often frames vulnerable communities only as victims. And instead, I move towards a framework that Tuck highlights, which actually celebrates the resilience, aspirations, and strengths of the communities that I've worked with. So the study that I've conducted, rather than focusing on the struggles, my research centers women's agency and achievements in Kandahar as well, portraying them as, active agents of change in their communities, in their pursuit of learning. I will also just add in terms of my own positionality, as a South Asian woman who was born and raised in Pakistan, but educated within a Western academic context, I recognize how my background positions me within a particular development discourse as well. In focusing on the work of Pashtana Durrani and Learn Afghanistan, my aim has been to represent their perspectives and experiences as authentically and respectfully as possible. And lastly, I did enter this research collaboration with a pre-existing working relationship with Pashtana, which I believe, built that foundation of trust. Oops, sorry, I skipped too far ahead. So just in terms of just a little bit of context on Kandahar itself, as you may know, it is located in southern Afghanistan. It has long been a center of political, cultural, and economic activity, but the region has also faced immense hardship due to, several years of conflict and instability. The women in Kandahar, like many areas of Afghanistan, have also experienced significant barriers to education, economic participation, and social mobility. But despite these barriers, and I'm speaking right now about the women that I have been connected to through Pashtana's community and learning programs, the women have really shown resilience and determination to learn. So my research, as I mentioned, will focus on how these digital education initiatives, such as those by Learn Afghanistan, offer a way for women to navigate some of these challenges, empowering them to participate in economic and social life, while also preserving the indigenous knowledge and practices. And I'll speak to that in a moment as well. Um, Learn Afghanistan is, as I mentioned, is a nonprofit organization founded by Pashtana Durrani. The programs that Learn Afghanistan runs range from digital literacy to health to hygiene, training to economic skill building. So their innovative programs are very much designed to not only address immediate educational needs, but also to foster long-term personal and community development. Now, along this point, I wanted to just take a step back and review the research question again, especially while thinking about the work that Learn Afghanistan does. So, as you know, the research question here is exploring the ways in which digital education initiatives can be designed to enhance women's socioeconomic agency while preserving indigenous knowledge and cultural practices. And I want to expand on this a little bit since it really is the core of what the research is focused on, and also a key principle of Learn Afghanistan's work itself as well. So a core principle of Learn Afghanistan's work is the localization and adaptation of digital learning resources to ensure that they are relevant, that they are culturally appropriate, and that they're aligned with local needs. Pashtana herself is deeply committed to working with global stakeholders and organizations while also maintaining a very sharp focus on the unique context of Afghanistan, and in this case, Kandahar. And I think that her dedication is evident in her efforts to keep Afghan cultural practices and local knowledge really at the center of any educational initiatives that she partakes in. So as I mentioned, I did have the privilege of working closely with Pashtana when I led a digital education project in Afghanistan during my time with the Rumi initiative. I still work with Rumi in the capacity of an advisor, where we partnered with Learn Afghanistan. And what stood out during this collaboration was Pashtana's unwavering commitment, not just to kind of translate the content into Dari or Pashto, the learning content, but to ensure that the content was also truly localized and contextualized. And, for example, she emphasized adapting learning materials to reflect Afghan realities and narratives and stories, ensuring that the overall curriculum was relevant and sensitive to the local culture and values and educational needs. And in fact, we ended up working with Pashtana's whole team to actually adapt and translate that content. Just quickly speaking to the methodology that I have used for the purpose of this particular research project. So it is a qualitative study that essentially draws on interviews conducted with Pashtana and feedback from participants in Learn Afghanistan's programs. As mentioned, the research aims to capture their perspectives on how digital education can empower women while preserving local cultural practices. In addition to these interviews, further data will be collected through further interviews with program participants. As mentioned, this research is very much a work in progress as well. And then just in terms of giving you a quick research overview, so this is kind of just this slide is kind of just highlighting some of the points that I've already gone over. So I'm just going to skip to the next one, just in the interest of time as well. So now I want to highlight the primary findings and key learnings that emerged from my research, particularly the role of digital education in empowering women in Kandahar. So firstly, digital platforms have proven to be powerful tools for empowerment, at least in this particular project that we ran. So I think that they offer access to crucial information and resources that women previously did not have at the time, whether it's health information or educational materials or certain foundational material pertaining to vocational training. Secondly, what's important to emphasize here is how digital education initiatives must be tailored, as I mentioned, to the specific cultural and linguistic context of local communities. So, in Kandahar, as mentioned, the programs that align with local languages and customs have proven to be far more successful in engaging women that we worked with and providing them with the opportunities to kind of learn and really foster their love for learning as well. And lastly, another key finding is the importance of community involvement in the creation of these digital learning spaces. So by ensuring that local women are part of the design process for your particular learning platform or innovation, these programs can then be better tailored to meet community needs, ensuring both relevance and sustainability. So I think that this participatory approach is really important for fostering that long-term success and also acceptance. Another point that I wanted to highlight was around community-centered design, just an extension of what I was saying. So digital education initiatives should not be imposed from the outside. Instead, they must be kind of shaped by the community. And then a key learning from all of this work has been that the focus should be very much also on incorporating indigenous knowledge systems into educational content. And by doing so, again, digital platforms can be a tool to preserve cultural practices and knowledge while also providing modern educational resources and ways of learning rather than, replacing that traditional knowledge. And lastly, women innovators are really at the forefront of these changes. I mean, this was a key learning from my collaboration with Pashtana and her community. Pashtana herself being a case in point. And I think that these women are not just kind of beneficiaries of change, but really the leaders in designing initiatives that are tailored to the specific needs of their communities and really rooted in that cultural context. And then just in terms of one of the primary benefits of digital education is how it increases women's socioeconomic agency. In the context of Kandahar, these initiatives essentially provided women with the knowledge or access to learning about certain skills, ranging from digital literacy to women's health and hygiene. However, while that digital education it can be empowering, it's also important to acknowledge that these initiatives are still operating within, a broader patriarchal framework. These systemic barriers can limit the full potential of some of these programs. So, for example, without a supportive social infrastructure, women's ability to leverage some of the skills and knowledge that they're gaining may still be, it is still restricted. And lastly, the insights drawn from Pashtana's work, I think, offer a powerful example as well, but it's important to recognize that her experience is also, it's kind of limited to just one person. So yeah, so the challenges and opportunities faced by other women in Afghanistan may differ due to variations in community resources and support structures. So while these findings are valuable, they may not be applicable across the board. So this slide essentially summarizes the challenges faced by Learn Afghanistan in doing this work. So a major challenge is overcoming societal resistance, especially from, patriarchal structures. Uh, Another one is socioeconomic disparities, which also limit women's access to some of these learning programs. And then we also have security and technological access constraints. And to overcome some of these, Learn Afghanistan is trying to take certain steps. So, for example, Learn Afghanistan uses or is trying to use low-tech solutions, such as mobile-friendly platforms and radio programs, at least at the time that we were working with them, which kind of allowed women to learn remotely in safe spaces as well. Um, Now, just in terms of some of the key lessons and implications from the research. So firstly, I think it's crucial that technology is not just introduced, but is designed with the specific needs of the local community in mind. Secondly, many digital platforms bring foreign models of education, which often ignore or dismiss indigenous knowledge and cultural practices. So I think future programs need to honor and integrate these practices. Thirdly, it's also critical to adopt a holistic approach. So empowering women socioeconomically is not just about providing them with the digital skills, but also addressing some of the larger systemic barriers that limit their access to resources, such as, economic opportunities, legal rights, and, the socio-political landscape. And finally, while Pashtana's work is a powerful example of female leadership and innovation, it's essential that future initiatives and research also consider the experiences and needs of a wider range of women across Afghanistan. And that's also something that I'm hoping to build on in my own research as well. And then just to conclude, this slide basically highlights the key findings and recommendations from my research. So some key takeaways, I would say the central takeaway is that digital education has immense potential, particularly in regions like Kandahar. However, the design of such programs must be rooted in the local context. As I keep repeating myself over and over again, I think this was a big takeaway from the work that we did. So, being rooted in the local context to kind of respect cultural practices while addressing challenges posed by patriarchy and other kind of inequalities that exist. And then so some recommendations for effective design. I think to design effective digital education initiatives, it's crucial to engage the community in the process as well. Creating low-tech solutions, for example, can make these initiatives more accessible in areas with limited resources. And then just looking ahead, these programs, I think, need to focus more on long-term sustainability and adaptability to local contexts. Moreover, I think female innovators are key to the process as they provide the leadership necessary to kind of challenge systemic barriers and to really promote women's empowerment and agency through learning spaces and through education. And that is pretty much it from my end. Thank you all so much for listening, and I will wrap up now and hopefully be able to stay on for the Q&A after.